Good morning, Scott. How are you doing today?
Hi, Kayleen. I am doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. We were just chatting about, very comfortable kind of active wear, and I'm dressed in some golf clothing. And the reason is because I have the opportunity to golf later today, but I thought this week I'd geek out on something that I found very funny. So I've been gifted golf clubs because I'm a new golfer, and so I don't quite know what I'm doing. And so for the last few weeks, I've been saying, gosh, my putter's broken. But I've been playing with some folks who take it as a joke. I'm like, she's just bad. It doesn't make any sense. No, really, my putter's been broken. There has been like an insert that was supposed to go here, and I never knew. And so I'm very excited to say I have been recently gifted two new putters. One somebody took from a putt-putt range, so I don't think that's actually. And then the other one is a boat anchor, but I'm very excited to learn that. Sometimes when I say my club is broken, it's really broken. It's not just
it's not just an excuse.
Not saying that it's bad. So, but Scott, how have you been these last few days?
I'm doing great. You reminded me of something. I got to play a round of golf with a professional golfer, and it was such a treat. His name is Roberto Castro, and a friend of mine, I guess he won it like at a silent auction or something, and he invited me out to play with this guy, Roberto Castro, and we played at a course here in Atlanta that was really nice, and he was super nice and down to earth. Just, it's just a reminder of how good these professionals are, and when you're actually on the course with them and you're watching them hit, it was the most nervous I've been on a golf course in a long time because I'm not very good, and so it's much more obvious when you're out there with a professional, versus with other people who are not good. So it was interesting.
What an experience, and I am truly jealous because I wish that I was actually introduced into this sport earlier on because, today's guest is definitely a sports aficionado, and I was joking earlier that I did play rec league softball when I was younger, and I just remember my coach screaming, "Stop swinging the baseball bat like it's a golf club." And now I get what he was saying, like, oh, all right, cool. But our guest today comes out of the world of baseball, but how valuable these sports are, and it is, in my opinion, teaching a little bit of math. Like, I view golf as, pool, which is geometry just in a bigger open space. But
yes. No, I agree. Sports are so important. And, my son plays travel baseball. Martin plays travel baseball. And, it's so good for building his confidence. And it just gives him something, constructive and productive to do, right? When he's not doing baseball, that means he's not spending time on his, computer, laptop, electronic device. He's outside. He's doing something with a team, a group of people, and he's setting goals and he's working to get better. And so there's just so much built into sports, especially for young people. But I'm so happy to be talking with Mike Plant today. He is such an interesting guy. Living here in Atlanta, I'm a huge Braves fan, as you know, and I'm also a huge fan of stadium construction. And so it's so cool to me that we're bringing these two together. We're bringing together a little bit of Braves baseball and a little bit of the Truist Park, which is the Braves stadium here. And, it's just, there's so much that I'd love to know about this stadium. And I'm so glad you're going to get to talk with him. One of the things, hopefully you bring up, or maybe you can ask him about, the site where the stadium is built, evidently there was a lot of rock there. There was a lot of rock that they had to blast through, and he can probably tell more about it, but it was a huge plot of land that was never developed. And I asked my friends about it, my friends in the industry, and they said, it's just it's a hard construction site to build on because there is so much, I guess granite. Being here in Atlanta, I'm imagining that it's granite, really hard rock, that they had to blast through just to be able to build on the site. So to me, that sort of thing is really interesting, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
I will absolutely put on the list of questions because for me, it is the treat. I mean, really, you say, don't take construction for granted. Thanks, man, our production team.
That's pretty good.
But it's really wonderful to now see this blend of sports and construction, it all plays along. And I was recently hanging out. I got to see your new offices, but while I was down there, I got to go visit the Battery, and Scott, it blew my mind. I mean, what a beautiful construction project. And the fact that, now we get to talk to Mike and maybe hear about the nuances. I mean, it all plays along together. Construction touches everyone's lives forever on all points. So this is, I'm very excited for about today.
It does, and it's such a beautiful development. I mean, you were down there with all the restaurants and all the cool shops, and obviously the Braves Stadium. And there's just so much going on, and it's a hot spot in town now too. It's really, I was reading an article recently about just the property values there going up and up. A lot of people want to live there, and it doesn't surprise me a bit because it's like a little city, in and of itself. You can live there and you can do pretty much everything you need to do right there without even having a car. It's one of those live, work, play type places. So such a beautiful vision, and they executed it with perfection. So I'm so glad we get to talk to Mike about that today.
Yeah, me too, because as an out-of-towner, I see it executed flawlessly. But Scott, so will you be hanging out for the rest of the show today to answer any questions from our fans for this interview?
Absolutely. I'm going to sit back and watch, and I may have some of my own questions here at the end, but I can't wait to hear from Mike and you as well, Kayleen. So we'll see you here in a few minutes.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Scott, for kicking off the show. And I'd like to welcome Mike Plant for joining us today. And as his screen is loading, we're going to be very excited about the fact that this was such an interesting construction project. And for those of you folks who aren't aware, the Atlanta Braves actually had a stadium in a downtown area, and they ended up moving and transitioning it to an opportunity for a new development. And so as we're waiting for Mike's footage to load, I am very lucky that I was there and I have the opportunity to geek out about it. And so they put in a brand new stadium that was beyond beautiful, but then around it, they were very smart in wanting to make the baseball more of just, it's just a game, it's an experience. And so you can go down and have dinner or some beverages before the game, but then also some beautiful living complexes, and then also a elevator testing center, which now that I see that we have Mike back, I can finally spill the beans on. So Mike, hi, welcome back. I'm so happy you're able to join us. So thank you so much for taking the time and joining us for lunch. This for me is a nerdy, goofy geek out, because I used to live across the street from Coors Field, yay Rockies, but I love the hot dogs and the sound of the stadium and the whole atmosphere. And the fact that you have now taken the Atlanta Braves into a new area and created this amazing atmosphere, it's a pleasure to get to interview. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us for lunch today.
You bet. I didn't get the memo about getting some hot dogs delivered.
Right? There's nothing better than a stadium hot dog. Unless you're in Manhattan and you get like a cart dog, there's nothing better. I don't know. That's just me, and also the wave. But I'm an odd fan of sports. So for our viewers watching, you are the president and CEO of development of the Atlanta Braves. Can you talk a little bit about your position and what do you do?
So we're one of the unique teams that obviously still has a daily pursuit of going after winning the World Series, and that's our core mission, our core objective. But in order to do that, we saw an opportunity many years ago when we were at Turner Field, but fortunately or unfortunately couldn't make this public-private partnership work in the city of Atlanta. So explored an opportunity to create a real estate development, mixed use type of a 24/7 environment, which we were successful in not only creating, but historically nothing like it around the world, built it all at the same time. And it's all there to support, again, our core habit of winning the World Series.
I love it because there is nothing better than the sound of a World Series fan and the team and the excitement behind it. And because I'm so excited, Mike, would you mind when I ask you questions if you just lean in a little bit closer? Just because.
Sure.
Oh, someday we'll do this in person and I'll be like Barbara Walters for sports, but even cooler. Anyway, so you do talk about, kind of the opportunity missed with the prior park. And so what were the opportunities you saw with putting the stadium in a new location and then the building that came around it?
A couple things. We moved closer to our core fan base, which is they live, the majority of them live outside the city of Atlanta. Fortunately, Braves country is 6 states throughout the Southeast, so we have fans all over the Southeast. But when you look at your core season ticket base, what was happening is that they live outside that perimeter, more on the north side than the other parts of the metro area, and they were not coming to games because they were not in their office, maybe downtown Buckhead, go back to their house, and then fight traffic, which is, we're challenged with here in Atlanta. People are challenged all over the country with traffic. But the fact that then you would get back in your car, go into the traffic, deal with lack of parking, lack of access, lack of any draw to bring you there early. We had a great historic baseball stadium, but there was nothing there to keep you there or said bring you in early. And so, we were able to take a new place 12 miles north of town, control it, own it, build it, operate it without any interference, and take a whiteboard basically. And this is one of my probably my best picture, and the one that I take a lot of pride in. This is the main 57 acres of 82 acres that we bought, and it sits right outside the perimeter, 75 to 85, 2 main access roads in the city of Atlanta. We have 360 access all the way around. This photograph is a picture from November of 2014 when we had started clearing woods, and then we also had to move 3 major pipelines around the perimeter. You see on the lower perimeter from right to left, there were 3 gas pipelines pumping petroleum from Houston to New Jersey, and that's why this piece of property was there. No one ever thought that you could move those. And so again, November of 2014, that's what it looked like.
Okay, this interview just got way cooler than I thought it was. Hang on, scroll back up because this is amazing. This is my level of nerd. All right, so we see the pipelines. Is there a way you can show where the stadium is at now in that area?
Yeah, so the stadium is in the very lower right-hand part of the picture. So, I would say the lower third of the picture. Okay. You see some of the woods and between the pipelines and that small group of trees, the trailers, that's all part of the stadium footprint at this point. But those pipelines took about 6 months to move with $14.5 million. And pipelines, they're under the subsurface all over the country. You can't build vertical on top of them, but you can build parking lots and sidewalks. You can't put trees there. You can put shrubs. They're only about 8 feet below the surface. They're 48-inch, 36-inch, and a 24-incher. And like I said, 24/7, they're pumping petroleum products all the way up to New Jersey.
So then how much of moving the pipeline affected the design of the battery?
A lot. And fortunately, they went right through the middle of the property. And that's why that piece of property sat there for basically 30 years. No one ever thought that you could ever relocate those. And I was able to have some very productive conversations with the CEOs of Colonial and also Atlanta Gas. And so we were able to pull that off. But, we went through 35 different designs. And at one point we had a Lake Como Italian villa type design. This piece of property had an elevation from the south side to the north side of 65 feet. We took a massive amount of rock off the property. It was over almost 2,000 truckloads of rock and dirt off the property to make it obviously, flat. And then,
And real quick, just so our viewers understand, this is not just like, oh, you're moving some like garden dirt. You were moving granite, correct?
Granite, yeah. No, we did a lot of blasting. And unfortunately, when we started drilling all the caissons, I think it was about 285 for the ballpark alone, some of them going 85 to 95 feet. We found a lot of debris. This became somewhat of a dump site when 75 and 285, the main highways that are adjacent to our property, were built. There's no doubt that this piece of property had a dump site on it. We found old cars, tires, houses, there was a lot of debris under the subsurface there.
Holy cannoli. And, I know that, that was a thing, where you would use old things to fill in areas. But now, we're pulling up a picture of what that area has become, because I visited again, not knowing what it was before, and it looks natural to the environment. What you put in there feels like it's always been there, but this picture is beautiful. And so can you explain what we're seeing here now?
Yeah, so again, that's the main 57-acre piece of property, and essentially April of 2017, that picture of November of 2014 to 2017 in April, this is what it looked like. And that is a massive amount of square footage, both in the ballpark and the mixed-use development, that went up all at the same time. And that's, I think, the big game changer. No one's ever done both of these things together. You built a sports venue, and then you start building some mixed-use development around it. And there's great examples of that. What is a little bit different is that none of the professional teams own it or operate all of it. And so a lot of times you'll have a development. For example, the Rockies are finally now, Monford's built a small development that they own that's adjacent to the ballpark. But all the great things are owned by other developers or other landowners. Our objective was to always control this entire environment from an operational and financial standpoint. That serves our best interest. 9.5 million people.
And actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, just because
you're good.
Audio is getting a bit wonky. And just to reiterate, I do think it's brilliant that the Braves wanted to control this development, because you want to have the experience, because you have fans like me who are in love with the wave and the sound and hot dogs, and will hang out just to experience the sound of the crowd. And then you have fans who are, they're going to keep score and count. And so why not appeal to that broader audience? And I think it's very wise. But you were just about to get into the finances of it. And I heard, I think 19 something, but then your audio cut out again. So would you mind repeating that?
Yeah, I don't remember what I said specifically about the finances, but I would agree with you that one of the things that you look at with a sports venue is usually build a sports venue and then a bunch of asphalt for parking lots. And our interest was creating this 365 work, live, play environment. And so that's what our objective was. That's what the vision was. And that's what we were able to pull off here. I'm looking to see if there's anything I can do with my audio.
It is fantastic to see that long-term thought process, because I'm a Colorado native, and I saw how the environment changed when Coors Field came in, and then what the environment changed around it. And so the fact you were able to control this as a whole brand and entity makes for a fantastic environment. Really, I enjoyed the whole experience. Eating down there, it was festive and fun, and I think it might have been on a Wednesday, or it was the middle of the week. But again, I drive a big truck, so I'm always concerned about parking, and I thought it was beautiful what you had done. So outside of kind of all these things, what are the changes you're expecting in the future from fans, and how is this a consideration into the planning of this development?
Well, you just addressed one of the big things is, no matter if you're going to the grocery store or a mall or another entertainment venue, you want easy access. You want to get in there and out of there efficiently. And, if that's a bad experience, you're probably not coming back. And so that's one of the things we spent a lot of time on. That footprint in the 57 acres, the last slide you had up, we have almost 6,000 parking spaces on site alone. And we have another 6,000 parking spaces in leased properties around us. So that helps create that easy ingress, egress environment, which is part of the experience. And then the other thing is, people, they want to feel safe. They want to feel secure throughout the 24/7 day part here. We spend a lot of time making sure that that environment never changes. Obviously, we have a lot of late night entertainment, and so there's a lot of fun that happens here, and you know, we just need to make sure that well it goes past midnight. My dad used to say nothing good ever happens after midnight. We think a lot of good happens here at the Battery after midnight, but we make sure that we spend the right amount of time and effort to make sure that the environment's safe as well.
It really is. And what I found so enjoyable was this very fluid environment of easy parking, which again, that is big for me. But then we had great restaurants, access to a bunch of them. But then if you wanted to like waste some time, there was this gathering area with a big screen and you could watch events. And then maybe you want to wander down and shop. It was just really a lovely sort of, I kind of feel like I was on vacation in somewhere else. And so what a neat environment. And have you modeled this complex after anything else? Because this, I don't know, it just felt so lovely, Mike. Like, I'm going to come back and visit.
You know, we did obviously look at other opportunities and developments that were adjacent to sports venues. San Diego, the Gaslight's a great example. Colorado's another one. LA Live. So, you know, I think we all are pretty collaborative in this business. So we did the same when we did stadium tours. Definitely went to see the Dallas Cowboys stadium and the Indianapolis Colts. Those are football stadiums, but you know, other than the dimensions of the field, you know, we share a lot of ideas, and you're always trying to best the next one. So, and I think you'll see this slide now of all the different brands that we brought here. Part of that experience of the restaurants and the experiential type of offerings we have is to create authentic opportunities. So no disrespect to some of the big chains, but these are all authentic restaurants with a lot of James Beard award-winning chefs and great quality food, great experiential and experience.
It was because I travel a bunch, and I never felt like I was visiting a chain. It was a really like, oh, an authentic Atlantic experience in the Battery, and I absolutely loved it. And so, okay, so I'm a nerd for all this. I saw the restaurant and the parking and all these things, but you had so many builds happening at once. And as a general contractor in residential, I'm overwhelmed for you on all that you had happening. How was this construction project managed?
Well, you know, the first thing is to have a great public-private partnership. And the Cobb County government leadership, my good friend Tim Lee, who was the chairman, he shared the vision we had. He thought differently than a government leader. And one of the things he said to me early on was, what's the number one thing I can do to make you guys successful? And I said, stay out of the way. Let us build a team of people, of experts, and that's, you know, what is at the core of our success. Was we were able to identify JLL was our project management team, Wakefield Beasley and Populous were our architects, and then we had 8 different general contractors, and they were all really good with great track records of success. I always said, look, my job was I didn't have to play any instruments. I needed to make sure the band sounded really good.
You're the conductor of the orchestra.
That was it. And so, and it was, you know, record speed. Time was not our friend. We had to build all this in 36 months. But if we would have had a ton of government interference, it probably doesn't get done. So private enterprise, entrepreneurial spirit. And one of the things I asked of everyone was bring your high standard of excellence and your A game every day, because this is not going to be for the faint of heart. But we're going to do something that no one else has ever done before, and we're all going to, you know, step away from it when it's all completed with a lot of pride that we accomplished this incredible feat and transformed this area and created an incredible legacy. One of the slide you're looking at now is part of our second phase, where we just completed another 600,000 square foot complex for ThyssenKrupp, the elevator company, and Papa John's, their new headquarters, and then we just completed another hotel with an A-loft and more loft office and retail space. That's our Omni Hotel that does incredibly well, 4-star hotel. This is our Roxy Theater, which does 125 events a year, about 60 concerts, 4,000 people capacity. And that's some of our partnerships that we've had long-time partnerships. And we did this very differently, where a lot of these partners were involved in the construction and using GE lights and obviously Carrier and different ways to create new partnerships and extend that into the whole battery.
I absolutely love it. And while you went through things, just because I'm a nerd and I promised that I wasn't going to geek out the whole time about this, Mike. Okay, can you please talk about the elevator testing facility? Because this blew my mind and I've been all over the world and I've never seen or heard about anything like this before. Can I come to her? Can I bring Victoria with me? Like, what is this?
Yeah, so the complex is a 300,000 square foot office. They have half of that. They're moving their North American headquarters there. So there's about 1,000 ThyssenKrupp employees there. And then we also added 3 additional floors. Papa John's has moved their headquarters out of Louisville, Kentucky. And that's in our office. And then ThyssenKrupp built a 5-story conference and test center and innovation center at the base of a 420-foot elevator test tower, which has 18 elevator shafts in it. That's where they'll create new elevator concepts. They'll test their elevators. They will bring 10,000 clients and technicians a year here. That's why we built a new hotel. And we were able to convince them the top 2 floors are special event space, that we'll work a partnership with them in order to create for, really cool special events with incredible views up there. The 2 elevators light up at night. There's a very cool LED mesh system on the glass. And yeah, it's going to be a really iconic building in Atlanta.
All right, so just for our fans, because normally we talk about construction, but you were kind of like a outlier, because why would somebody in baseball want to talk about construction? But you're the perfect guest. This is so good. And just that is amazing. And the fact that you now have a place to test, and so many smart people with backgrounds in engineering will be coming there to test elevators. It's not just folks who want to see if they go from top to bottom holding a pizza, if it'll fall.
Exactly. Well, and I'll tell you, one of the cool things about the test tower is we hired Brasfield Gorey was a contractor on the whole complex, and they hired an Austrian company that created a slip form system. So that 420 feet and 50 additional feet below grade was built 24/7 around the clock in 67 days. The concrete never stopped. And it was every day moving it up in this system that elevated around basically the tower, and constantly pouring concrete and constantly putting steel in. And so that was the most efficient, effective, cost-effective way to do it, and also helped us an incredible amount on the schedule too.
Absolutely, because you're always building on top of stuff you don't have tried. Think, the science behind it. Mike, you really built a cutting edge, state-of-the-art facility with a great team. I mean, I am Colorado, so whatever. Hooray, Braves! I hope you win the World Series. Woo! Okay, so as a kind of nerd too, how long? You talked about again. Remind me again how long the process was from groundbreaking to opening day for the stadium.
So the first picture you saw was about 5 months in. So that was November. It was probably April of 2014 to April of 2017. We say it was about 36 months when we started moving trees off the site to when we played our first game. And, I always said, look at that picture there. I always said, look, I don't want to see a single crane in the air. There were 14 at one point, and we can't have any Georgia red clay flowing down the streets when we play our first game. I'm okay if we're going to finish the interior of the Omni all the way through 2017 and the interior of the Comcast office building all the way through 2017. But we need to make sure that around the perimeter of the ballpark, all of that's alive, well, open, and this doesn't look like a construction site, because otherwise people weren't going to come that first year. And fortunately, because of the commitment and the standard of excellence that the team all brought to the table, we accomplished that.
It's a stellar vision you had, because I'm not sure if many people would realize what the visual impact of a crane makes on a building project, because you still feel like, no, they're still figuring it out or might not have it buttoned up. And so bravo to that. All right. Ballpark question, pun intended, not sorry. I'm just used to saying that. Do you know how many different types of trades worked on this project?
Well, like I said before, we had 8 different general contractors. And I'd probably say there were north of 100 different subs that were involved. And some of them, obviously, when you look at MEP, a lot bigger than others. But because of the complexity and the speed that I was asked that question the other day and went back and did a little research. And yeah, it was definitely north of 100 different subs.
I absolutely love this because really, you know, part of this lunch is letting folks know that, look, you know, there's many, many different areas and opportunities out there. And so, all right, so the Battery has been open and operating since 2007 and it's still growing, which
17.
So, 17, thank you.
Yeah.
And if I could handle humidity, I would totally get an apartment down there. It's amazing. So is the Brave organization still managing the construction of the complex, or how has that changed now over these years?
No, we are the developer, we're the owner, we're the operators, and again, that's what we believe is the recipe for success. So the game environment, obviously, we know what we're doing, 81 games, hopefully 91 games a year, soon again, making the postseason. But what do we do in those other 274 days? So we activate over 500 different events. And our job is to bring people there, 9.5 million this year. And that includes our game traffic, our concert traffic. But on New Year's Eve, we'll do 10,000+ people on the plaza. And we're constantly activating because that's what our tenants want. That's why we have tenants that are doing record numbers at their restaurants and their retail establishments, because we're bringing people there. We're bringing them there. Ingress, egress, safety, security, access, all works. And that's a great picture of New Year's Eve. We do a massive tree lighting, has the same amount of people there. And again, just creating a very high energy place that people enjoy coming to and have a great experience.
Oh, you could definitely feel when you visit. And so I hope a lot of our friends do get an opportunity to come out and check this amazing facility out. Okay, so just because you've had such an experience on this, do you have a surprising lesson that you've learned in this process?
Well, I don't know if it's a surprise to anyone in the construction business, but you know, they always say your contingency is never big enough, and time's not your friend. Because you get in the start of a project and you're like, hey, we're cruising, everything's working, we're on schedule. And then left field, right field, curveball, slider comes in. And, you know, we dealt with a lot of those. So, but, you know, I have a mindset of that's just a new opportunity. There's nothing that we can't overcome. Let's all get to the table. We don't have to yell and shout at each other. And we're going to figure this out. And we're going to stay focused on the ultimate prize, and that's what we were able to do.
It is a great example on how construction and teamwork in sports happens. It happens with teamwork, communication. It really is a thing. And so while we bring Scott back in, I'd love to ask you one more question on what makes you so happy when you arrive now at SunTrust Park?
You know, happiness for me is winning games. I'm not going to lie to you. That's those are good days for us. We're here a lot. I mean, we won't leave until after midnight tonight. We have a game against the Cincinnati Reds. So, you know, our focus is about getting to the postseason and winning those games, but also just seeing this work, just seeing the, you know, tens of thousands of people that come here. They talk about it. I think, you know, by the end of this year, probably end of next year, we'll be putting $25 million of new cash into Cobb County's general fund or school board, because of all the income that we're generating from a tax standpoint. So, you know, we took a lot of shots in the beginning, and I was okay with that. And I said, look, we don't need anyone to apologize for us. This is going to work, and it's going to set a new historic trend in this business. So
I completely agree, Mike. It has more than ever. And I'm so excited to see the continued growth of this area and, you know, bringing Scott back in. Scott, this was, I don't know, I want to do the wave, but we don't have enough people to make it happen. So sorry, Mike. All right, but Scott, what did you think about today?
Well, this is another one of those guests that I could just talk to for hours. I just love sitting back, listening to him tell the stories. And living here in Atlanta, there are a few others I just wanted to mention. First of all, he mentioned Brassfield and Gorey. Another company we work with is New South Construction. I know you know Mike, probably Doug Davidson over at New South. They're great partners of ours, and they just they always talk about how they love working with you guys. So I want to be sure and lift that up. Both Brassfield and Gorey and New South are on our board of directors. So they say you guys are a pleasure to work with. The other thing I'll mention, Kayleen, you'll appreciate this. And Mike, maybe you can add a little bit more, but I think that Mercedes-Benz Stadium and SunTrust Park were on virtually the same construction schedule. They were scheduled to finish like on practically the same day, which was just amazing to me living in Atlanta, having two professional sports, complexes being built at the same time. It was a bit surreal. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Mike.
Yeah, no, that's true. And we had a lot of collaboration together. Obviously, we were both in pursuit of trying to buy out various markets and contractors and getting in front of each other, I think. But we sequenced that very well. The Falcons, Rich Mccabe and Arthur, they're great friends. And it was unusual to have two major sports venues being built in the same city at the same time.
It was. And then the only other thing I'll mention is you are a magician, you and your team, in terms of the traffic. And what I mean by that is, living here in Atlanta, I was so skeptical when you said you were going to be building a stadium here. I was like, how in the world? That's one of the most congested parts of the city of Atlanta. And somehow you all put a stadium there and you made the traffic better, which I still can't figure out how you all made that happen, dropping in tens of thousands of people, and the traffic actually flows better than it did before you were there, which is just amazing.
Well, there was a massive amount of planning, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't ever need to sit in another traffic parking meeting for the rest of my life because I sat in so many of them, but we knew how critical that was. The number one reason people didn't go to more games at Turner Field was because of lack of access, parking, and the traffic. So we always said we're not going to take our problems downtown and move them up here. Working with GDOT, working with Cobb DLT, and creating a plan that had 365 access. You can get into our parking lots, 14 different access points. We had 2 downtown. And as I said, 6,000 on site, 6,000 off site. That's with 41,000 seats, which is 9,000 less. We have 3,000 more parking spaces here than we had downtown. And then ride share has gotten bigger. We have great traffic and control with the Cobb County Police, and all of it's working really well together. And people come here earlier and they stay later. Why? Because of the battery. It's a huge part of our success. All of it together, that's why it's working.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Mike. This has been a real treat to hear directly from you. Like I said, I've heard a lot about you over the years, and obviously love the Braves, and just so appreciative of the time you've spent with us today. And Kayleen, you want to close us out?
Sure. I know I would close us out with a tomahawk chop, but I'm from Colorado, so I thought it'd be appropriate. But again, this has been fantastic, Mike. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us for lunch. And Scott, also thank you for introducing us. Talking about the Brave Stadium and the Falcons, what I find so fascinating and so lovely is now we have the baseball and football leagues coming together and realizing construction is important. And now you have these great folks putting it back into the community, realizing we do need plumbers and electricians. So how can we continue to make the workforce development? So especially Mike gets the coolest development on earth. It's so great there. So thank you again for joining us. I cannot wait to see what happens in the next few years. And for all of our fans who are still hanging out, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to SEPCA.org. And also next week, we're going to be talking to the host of the Construction Brothers podcast. And so, as an only child, I'm excited. This is going to be Eddie and Tyler Campbell. They're 6th-generation builders from Megville who talk about construction, engineering, and technology, things that fit right in with our conversation today, gentlemen. So thank you again, Mike. I hope you win the World Series.
Thank you. I think the Rockies, I don't know if the Rockies are going to make the dance this year.
No, they won't, but their hot dogs are delicious. So
yes.
For me, that's all I can. So, all right, gentlemen, have a great rest of your week. And
thanks, Mike.
Next lunch. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Kayleen.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, everyone.